Hey everyone, DFA here, welcome back to the channel. And yeah, you did see the introduction to that small series with Taylor Swift, who could not outperform the Kaga. And yeah, we're going to take a look at that thing in 2024 and how it stacks up to the competition. Because I've been playing it quite a lot recently, I'm actually using it to train my future Hakuryu commander, the Yamaguchi guy. And the, because you know, it's a very, very good trainer for Japanese CV commanders, because it's just so strong. It really does not care if your commander is skilled or not. Let's take a look at that thing in the stats sheet first. And here it is, and if I'm not mistaken, it was based on the battleship hull, and indeed it does have quite a decent amount of survivability, but the rest is very battleship-like. Surface detection is the worst at the tier, speed is the worst at the tier, maneuverability is the worst at the tier, concealment it's absolutely atrocious. 5 200mm guns, the worst DPM at the tier, almost only for the ranger, but the turret traverse speed, it's very, very annoying when you have to put those guns on target, so don't rely on them. The dive bombers, that's where it gets interesting. 2 squadrons of 4 planes, hangar of 36, so that's twice as much as the Ranger, which is supposed to be the dive bomber CV at tier 7. And yeah, the accuracy at 64%. That is by far the best of all the Japanese CVs at the tier. So yeah, fires per minute actually lowest amount of all the tier 7 CV, but still a pretty decent amount of fires per minute. And then the torpedo bombers, 3 squadrons of 3 planes, super small preparation time, ridiculous DPM, and almost a guaranteed flooding per wave. So yeah, it's kind of a problem when you look at how much damage this thing can actually deal, because yeah, when you look at the Kaga and you compare the plane's DPM, which is about 16,000, and the HP pool of the bombers at almost 120,000, let's jump to the tier 10 CVs. Let's take the Hakuryu, and 16,000 DPM we had, this one is at 16,000 as well. And the hangar at 120,000, Hakuryu and Nakimov are at 140,000. So you're essentially playing the tier 10 CV at tier 7 in terms of offensive capabilities, but you don't really have anything to counter it in front of you. You don't really have a booster or anything like that. So yeah, it's still a stupid ship in 2024. Yeah, and that's kind of what you have to keep in mind when you watch that footage. There is a vanilla commander in it, so concretely it does not have the dive bomber skills that increases the accuracy by 15%. This is still a work in progress. And yeah, I think I have almost 700 battles in the Kaga, so yeah, I just had not played it for years. I only played it until I decided to train that commander again. You know what I was telling you? See, that's a guaranteed flooding per wave. There you go. That's already 1 flooding and 15,000 damage per wave at tier 7. This is a tier H matchup, so we do have a couple of tier 8 ships on the enemy team, and a couple of battleships as well. And you notice that I'm not focusing on the destroyers at all. I'm focusing on the battleships that are coming to my right, because they are absolutely without any kind of protection. It's not like you can get any kind of protection at tier 7 anyway, because yeah, how many AA ships do you actually see at that tier? Well, yeah, not a lot, and none of them is actually able to stop a Kaga. So concretely, if this thing wants you dead, like I'm doing to that poor Colorado right now, there is absolutely nothing they can actually do about it. And yeah, this time it's actually on fire. It's set on fire by my team, so we're going to add another fire on top of that, and we will surely be adding another flooding. So yeah, I mean, that's why that thing, it's just completely broken, because of that incredible amount of firepower, which you can use without fear or repercussion, because yeah, it's an Illustrious in front of us, and he's not going to prevent any planes from reaching the target with those pathetic fighters. It's never going to have any effect whatsoever. So yeah, it's just click and destroy everything you click on in 2024. That's how it was when it was first introduced in the game a couple of years ago, and that's exactly what it still feels like today. And you see that I'm actually splitting my squadrons in two there, because I know that the first one will actually finish the Colorado. and then I will use the second squadron to actually start pounding the Gascogne as well. So yeah, I'm completely ignoring the destroyers that are in top of me. I'm keeping, and there we go, that the Colorado is flooded for good, so that's the last offensive action is going to make in this game. And we can actually start to see if we can fire and flood that Gascogne as well. So yeah, no counter to that thing. We get our first kill, and it's not like that Colorado was actually able to do a lot in that game. And you see that I'm trying to kind of minimize the distance between me and the enemy team as well. So I'm not too far, like 12 kilometers, so right outside of my concealment, and I'm not going at full speed ahead, because yeah, that's kind of how you maximize the damage output of that thing as well. Not that it needs a lot of help to be maximized. But yeah, I'm going to play the full fire and flooding game on that Gascogne. And just send my squadrons into waves, because honestly I could not care less. I do have the hangar to be able to afford such a technique. Yeah, if they had a Cleveland to protect them, that would be a completely different story, of course, but yeah, looks like it's not really the case, right? So yeah, I've been playing this thing again in 2024 to retrain the commander, and yeah, it's just felt as broken and overpowered as it felt in the original years when it was released. What's actually even more aggravating is that the thing, it's actually not expensive at all. It was in the previous shipyard for 30 steel, if I'm not mistaken, or was it even the previous shipyard again? And typically it gets on sale for something like 30 euros when it comes out, so yeah, just know what you're getting into. Yes, it does not have any fighters, but honestly, yeah, in terms of damage output, it's just so ridiculously over the top that it doesn't really need fighters. We finally flood the Gascogne, so I'm calling back the squadrons there. And yeah, I was telling you about the mobility of that thing. Yeah, it looks like I have a cruiser on top of me, and the Gascogne is actually able to catch me, but that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and I'm going to face that Gascogne in a typical Kaga duel, which means I'm going to click on him and send him at the bottom of the sea. So yeah, so you get tier 10 DPM at tier 7, you do not face any kind of the opposition that the tier 10 CVs face, no Worcester, no Des Moines, no Holland, no nothing at tier 7, there you go, that Gascogne gets flooded and set on fire again. It's pretty cheap, actually. It's not really an expensive premium. There's no real counter to it. People will say, ah, but DFA, what are you? There you go, that's the guns. They take forever to get on target, but once they get on target, boom. Bye bye Gascogne. Yeah, DFA, no, you forgot to talk about the Saipan. Yes, I will be telling you about the Saipan next week, because yeah, it turns out it's not such a reliable counter to the Kaga again. And if there is a tier where the premium CVs are just completely overshadowing the Tech 3 CVs, it's tier 7. It's probably one of the worst tier in terms of CV balancing in the game. Everyone keeps complaining about tier 10 and tier 9, but honestly, this one takes the cake. There is absolutely not a chance against that thing when you are in a Tech 3 CV, and the Kaga has the slightest idea about what it's doing. So there you go, kind of lacking targets right now. Let's go after that Benson, because we can actually take him out in one salvo, but I should have let my torpedoes a little bit more. We're still going to put a couple of them on target. Now indeed, I do not necessarily go after destroyers with that thing unless I have a pretty clean shop, and this one is actually going to escape. Yeah, it's just so good at dealing damage and setting battleships on fire and flooding them that honestly that's the kind of targets you want to prioritize, and once the enemy DDs are actually alone on the map when there's not a lot they can do, right? So we would have finished it with that salvo anyway. So yeah, next week I will be telling you about the counter to that thing on paper, the Saipan. Bon, we will see what happens. And in the meantime, you see, while Taylor Swift wasn't able to do actually anything against that thing when it's on your team, it's a guaranteed MVP when you're playing that ship. And it's not like it takes an insane amount of skill, to be honest. So there you go, most broken ship in the game for me, Kaga tier 7, pretty easy choice. So yeah, let's take a look at that thing next week, where I will be on the opposite side of it. And in the meantime, stay safe, take care. That was DFA signing out, bye bye.